Hello again. One of the most enduring misconceptions to emerge from the Second World War was that in 1940 Britain was attacked by German bombers which launched an aerial assault on our cities, to which we later responded by sending our own bombers to attack their cities. For most people in Britain, the sequence of events is very clear. The Germans invaded France in 1940 and we went to their aid, suffering a terrible defeat at Dunkirk in May and June. Then, in July and August, Germany attacked Britain from the air, bombing airfields and ports, and then later in September, cities, including London. We later bombed their cities in response. This is a version of history taught to school children. I have here a popular children's book on the subject, which I took out from the library today. It's called The Battle of Britain, Catherine Chambers, Capstone Global Library Limited. We read on page 10 as follows. On the 10th of July 1940, the Luftwaffe launched its first air attack on Great Britain. It aimed at Britain's shipping convoys and ports. That's the first mention, by the way, of bombing at all. Then on page 16, we read as follows. On the 13th of August 1940, the Luftwaffe launched an airborne assault named Operation Eagle Attack. This targeted air bases, aircraft factories and radar. Then on 24th of August, the Luftwaffe accidentally dropped bombs on South London streets instead of docks. The RAF retaliated by bombing Berlin, Germany's capital city. Nazi Germany's response was devastating. On the 7th of September, the skies over London filled with a dark swarm of enemy aircraft. That's when the Blitz began. You see how clear it is and how this is the version taught to children. The bombing was started by Germany. They first attacked us in July by air bombing us, and then later on they accidentally bombed the streets of London. We responded and then the Blitz began. It's Germany's doing. They started it. This is all completely false. The reason that we wish to believe this nonsense is that later on in the war we committed dreadful atrocities such as the firebombing of Dresden and Hamburg. We justify these actions by pretending that it was Germany which first began bombing our cities, and we were then justified in striking back. In fact, by the time the Blitz began, we had been pounding German cities in 100-bomber raids for months. But this doesn't seem to have found its way into British history books. As early as May the 11th, weeks before we sent troops to France and before the evacuation at Dunkirk, we sent 36 bombers to raid the German town of Mönchengladbach. Only 4 civilians died during that raid, but less than a week later, we sent no fewer than 136 bombers to attack Hamburg. 34 people died in this air raid. These bombing raids were conducted against Germany 3 months before the Luftwaffe conducted any operations against targets in Britain. This is a fascinating subject, and I've written a very detailed account on my Substack account explaining the background in greater detail. I give a link to this in the description to this video. It is of course free to read. I also give a link to the Wikipedia article about Mönchengladbach, which mentions the bombing. It's surprising that this fairy tale, the idea that it was Germany which first bombed us during the Second World War, has lingered on for so long. As I say, we felt guilty after the war for some of the terrible raids we carried out, and preserving the idea that it was Germany which started bombing cities in that way allowed us later to justify Dresden.